Yes, if there is any station that you can reliably tune to get accurate, detailed, and more apt information is on People's Television. And with that, we welcome you to the Thursday's edition of your most informative program on television, talking about New Day on PTV. My name is Pius Samuel, and I won't be on the show alone today. I've got Aisha, Nemo, Jibrin on set with me. Good morning, Aisha.
Good morning, everyone. Like Pius said, People's Television. We're here again to give you that juicy opportunity to, talk about things that are trending, matters that affect us as a country, as a people, and matters that will definitely, like Pius' slogan always say, make Nigeria great again.
Definitely, Aisha. I have so much belief in this country. It doesn't matter what we're going through right now. I am very, very sure, if not in my lifetime, maybe the next generation, that Nigeria will definitely be great again.
That's good.
It doesn't matter what we're facing, at this present point in time. But the politics is getting much more interesting.
It is.
Things are, turning and panning in and out, and from one story to another. At the end of the day, you even be left confused. You don't know exactly what is happening. Today, A is here. Tomorrow, A is no longer here. Next tomorrow, C that you thought, C is, deeply rooted, around a particular political party. Before you know, C is telling you that I'm on my way out and all that. The information, reaching us, late yesterday evening and struck this morning indicates that the former Kano State Governor, and the former Minister of Education, Shekarau, has recanted. Said, no, I'll go nowhere. I am still in the PDP. So maybe a good one for the opposition, and they should try, maybe the ruling party should try harder to lure him, to change camp.
Yes, when the statement was released, a spokesperson came out to say that they were in a meeting trying to deliberate to see what not. I must say the PDP must have mouth-watering offers, that made him stay back because he had not, made a choice categorically at that point. And I think that's a good one. That's a plus for them. Knowing when you're in the talks with someone who has the intention of leaving and then convincing the person to stay. That's quite, fit. They renewed his interest and his beliefs in them.
And commitment to the party.
Yes.
Right away from that, yesterday, the president, when the form was to be sold for 55 million naira, came out to say he doesn't have that money. In 2014, he came out to say he was not having, was it 12 or 24 million or 25 million to purchase the presidential nomination form.
Back then.
But somehow, he said he took a bank loan to purchase that form. And now, the presidency is saying he doesn't have 55 million. And it was, brought down to 45. That's minus 10 million. And yesterday, a group, purchased the form for 45.5 million for the president. So, what is happening to our politics?
It's quite funny. We see that a lot. And, people who are the supporters of that particular candidate coming out to say, okay, we bought the form for you. The one that preceded this one was that of Atiku. And it was quite dramatic because he was there. The form was handed over to him, and he started crying, and everybody went all emotional, and then again, it's politics. So there's the, on one hand, this is very, emotional and all of that, and there's also the fear that people have, looking at reactions that you see online, that all of this could be stage managed and whatnot. But either it's stage managed or not, Atiku got his nomination form on the PDP platform. And of course now, the incumbent president, Muhammadu Buhari, has gotten his own form by hook or by crook.
By hook or by crook. It's no longer news, that he's gotten his nomination form. But the question, is that which group is this group, and how did they come up with the money? Because,
Very important.
Sometime in 2014. I knew that some couple of Nigerians were like, okay, we are going to contribute and all that. And how many Nigerians really contributed, towards that project? And just in 2-3 days that the actual fee or the actual amount was reeled out by the party, You know, we see someone rolling out 45.5 million naira to purchase the form. So, where is the money coming from? Who and who did the donation? Where is? And another question also is the fact that, is it that in 3 years, a sitting president cannot raise 45 million, even from his allowance and take-home packages? You know, is it true that the president truly cannot raise 45 million naira?
You know,
these are some of the questions that we need to ask. And if you say you are coming under the platform of integrity, you know, is it true? How much is your allowance? Come out and tell us how much is your allowance. And tell us that in 3 years, you are not able to raise 45 million naira. When you are declaring your assets, you told Nigerians that you had over 100 cows. You know, so I mean, there are a whole lot of questions to demanding for answers.
Definitely,
seriously.
because then again, when it comes, it just goes to show some people that maybe this is not as
You're just
important
on our
to you.
emotions or something?
Exactly, it's not as important, because something that is as important, if I'm elected president, from the day I enter office, I'm saving for my second term bid, as in, you understand, for example, like something that's that important to you, something that was not just dropped on your lap last minute, there should definitely be some sort of provision. Are they trying to say, okay, maybe he's not saving, you know? But then going into all of that will lead to, you know, his words against he's the one, you know, who is supposed to hold the money. But realistically, it's not far-fetched for us, you know, to really sit back and wonder why, what the president of Nigeria, our political space is the most expensive. You know, having been compared to that of the Western, even the Western world, our political space is expensive. The allowances, you know, that they receive, the salaries that they receive, and whatnot. So if it's that expensive and so much money is, you know, involved in the process, why would he come up and say, okay, he cannot afford to? So it's quite how will I put it? Yes,
yeah,
and contradictory.
And contradictory, because you know, some school of thought came up to say that if you tell us that you cannot raise 45 million naira, the power bike your son had an accident with cost how much? Who got it for him? A lot of questions. You know, I think sometimes it's better for us to just keep quiet and just allow things play out naturally, rather than for you to come out and say A today and tomorrow you're saying Z. It doesn't really speak well. Is it true that you cannot really raise this money, you know, in all of your activities in 3 years? Let's even let's even look at your allowances, you know, your per diem, you know, spending and all that. We sometime in 2015 or 2016, we knew how much they spent in the kitchen.
True.
You know, which was all over the media. And sincerely, is it that you don't have 45 million naira in your account as a sitting president? What signal are you sending to other part of the world? You know, it's only in Nigeria that you see people coming out to say that we are picking the form for a particular candidate. Where did you get the money from? You know, in other climes you don't do such. We're yet to hear someone picking a nomination form for Obama or for the Clinton and maybe for the McCain or, you know, the senators in the U.S. We are yet to hear all of that. And if we claim that we're going or copying the democratic process, you know, from the United States, then where are we getting all of this from? You know, it's so sad, you know, that, you know, things just happen anyhow in this country. Things just happen anyhow.
Sentiment definitely is finding its way into our politics, and all of this, at the end of the day, has a way of affecting the minds of the people. And I would not only, you know, leave it to this administration. Looking back then when Jonathan was coming, he came on the benchmark of, I had no shoes, I had no... Yet it's a trend. People tend to observe the political space and then work out their campaign and their tactics to suit it. We Nigerians like the story of I am for everybody, I am nobody. I do not have shoes, I used to have shoes. We're very sentimental, we're very emotional. So when someone comes up with this kind of stories, it tends to make us more inclined to relate with that person. This is someone who is climbing the ropes, this is someone who is climbing the ladder. So I think that is what these people over the years have noticed, and of course are trying to capitalize on, you know, over the years. Look at when Atiku cried some days ago. It was on the front pages of, you know, most of the papers. It was trending everywhere. You saw him with the handkerchief in hand and all of that. And naysayers that came out to say, okay, no, this looked like, you know, you're trying to buy emotions, really though, people bought you the ticket. People that, you know, his supporters came out and brought pictures of President Muhammadu Buhari when he cried his own cry, you know, some years ago. So it was a competition of who looks more pitiful, or who looks, you know, and that shouldn't be the case. We always say here on the program, we should not allow sentiments, we should not be swayed by propaganda. We should try our best to look at the facts, you know, for what it is. We shouldn't take all of the narratives that are being given to us or that are appeared to us as is. We should really look for what really is and not what appears to be.
Yeah, that's very true. I had to do a quick research now. Sometime in 2017, the vice president said his monthly salary is 1.5 million naira as vice president, while the president earns about 1.75 million naira. Now, take that apart, you know. If 1.5 and 1.75 is anything to go by, times 3 years, that's one. That's on the salary angle. I can bet you that this salary can be there in the next 4 years without them touching a dime because of other, you know, other income that might be coming that will not be in public glare. That's one. Number two, they also have, you know, allowances. So if you add up the allowances, add up the salaries, in 3 years, is it that you cannot raise 45 million naira? That's just, these are some of the things that we need to, you know, you're traveling out of the country, you know how much your per diem is, you know, and come on, Aisha, come on. I don't want to believe that. I don't want to believe that. No, as a Nigerian, I don't want, come out and tell me that, no, this money is outrageous, it's high, bring it down so that we can buy the form, rather than you telling me that you don't have it. You don't play on people's psyche. You know, it's only in this part of the world that, you know, people will come out and say whatever they feel like saying and go back to sleep, and nobody question, you know, their integrity. Because if truly you come out to say that you don't have that amount of money, then you should tell us how much is your statement of account. You know, in as much as you want to recontest, or anybody that wants to contest, tell us how much is in your account. You know, tell us what exactly you are declaring. Assets, Are you telling us that the same way you went, you know, into Aso Rock 5, 10, 15 years ago is the same way you are now? Are you telling us, you know, maybe as the former president that, you know, you were elected in 2010 and you are living in 2014, are you telling us that the same way you entered with no shoes, are you living Aso Rock without shoes? You know, as you're coming in 2015, you know, are you telling us that, okay, you're coming with 100 heads of cows? Are you telling us that while you'll be living sometime maybe in 2019 or 2023, are you still living with 100, you know, cows? And let's do some kind of rough arithmetic. Let's say you have 100 heads of cows and maybe 80 male, 30 females and all that, just rough estimate. In 4 years, how many what do you call it, how many cows would they give birth to? You know, all, on and off, all of that. But it's only in this part of the world that, you know, emotions are being played upon, and, you know, politicians tend to take advantage of that and allow the electorate to keep fighting themselves and say, no, he's this, no, he's not that, no, he's this, no, he's not that. I mean, we should come out and be plain. Until we get to that point, actually, we'll just be talking about mere politics, you know, with no ideology, with no sincerity, with no integrity whatsoever. Integrity is not by word of mouth. Integrity is not by body language. Integrity is being displayed. Display it and let people know, okay, yes, this man has integrity, yes, this woman has no integrity, rather than, you know, you playing on emotions, if you ask me.
True, I must say that. But definitely, amongst, you know, some of the things that, the events that happened yesterday is the Inspector General of Police, Ibrahim Idris, has said a part of the ongoing reforms for the Federal Special Anti-Robbery Squad, that is the new SARS, will include the installation of a device custody management system to check abuse by men of the squad in the area of illegal detention. He said the device will be configured to alert relevant officers once the suspect is detained, and also when the detention exceeds the permitted 48 hours. Now, he added that another such is the development of an application that all phone users can download on their phones, and which could help them send complaints directly to force headquarters and have them tackled immediately. Oh, wow. Then I think this is given overhauling a new definition.
Well, Aisha, the question is, who is going to man
these devices?
The device or the devices?
Very quick and smart question.
Who is going to man it? I can deactivate the device and keep you in custody for as long as I want. Or if it's a camera stuff, I can decide to take you where the camera is cannot locate you easily. Yes, installations are done by human. And the same human that carry out the installation can also tell you what to do about it. So, I mean, it all boils down to integrity, my dear. Let's forget about technology is fine, but even if you have the best of technology, but you have the worst man handling it, you're not going to get the results. You know, the integrity of the Nigerian police, you know, for quite some time has been battered by their own men. We've seen pictures, we've seen videos all over the social media. We've seen situations where policemen would, you know, face each other, shooting and, you know, killing each other, all because of, you know, very, very intrinsically minute issue. And now you say you want to bring XYZ? Come on. Change the mindset of the people. Change the psyche of the people. If their salaries are being delayed, pay them on time. You as a leader also change. If there is anything you need to do that will encourage them to work better, do it. If their salaries are supposed to come on the 25th, do all in your powers to ensure that it comes on the 25th. Even if it's going to fall on a weekend, even if it's going to fall on a Sunday, ensure they get the alert. Give a bank mandate. 25th, pay these people. Even if you don't have, borrow us money. When the money hits, you know, the central account, take back your money, but pay these people. Let me tell you, if you do all of that, you won't have to be spending, you know, extra money, asking people to. Now, if you go to police station, they'll tell you bail is free, but you and I know that it's not free. And now you want to bring all the device that they should not detain someone, you know, beyond 24 hours. As you are installing it, they are already getting the counter installer. As you are installing it, as you immediately open your mouth and say, this is the device that we are bringing, they are already going on it to know how they can bypass that technology. There's no technology that cannot be bypassed. If your email can be hacked, then there's no technology that cannot be bypassed. We are yet to see that. So all of this is just another means of spending, and you know, some of the money is going into private pockets and all of that. Do the right thing. Let these people, give them a change of orientation. Let them have their allowances. The other day we saw military guys shooting in the airport in Maiduguri. Shooting sporadically, all because, you know, they said that they're supposed to be transferred out of the theater according to, you know, a directive from the army chief, but they were transferred from one, you know, warring part of the state to another place, and we saw all of the protests. Before then, we also saw policemen protesting in the same war theater, talking about Maiduguri, so, you know, shooting and all of that. So for me, I think doing all of that, that one might just be another means of, you know, taking care of all of that. But they should be able to do the needful, because these are human beings. There is nothing that you bring up that they won't be able to bypass or counter. That's just the truth. Otherwise, we'll just keep going round in circles.
Trying to actually drop a positive dose into all of that. I must say that it's quite commendable too. And now back to politics. I'm talking about how Saraki completes his first PDP assignment. Now the pictures, I don't know if you saw those pictures, you know, yesterday with the unity that's been happening in Osun State, and it looked good. We saw our dancing senator all smiles, you know, taking pictures, signing. Now the crisis between the People's Democratic Party governorship candidates in Osun State, Senator Ademola Adeleke and Akin Ogunbiyi, has been resolved. Now, Senate President Bukola Saraki announced the reconciliation between both parties on Wednesday in a post on his Twitter page. Saraki wrote, "Following marathon meetings today in Abuja, I am pleased to announce that we have a signed agreement between PDP gubernatorial candidate Senator Adeleke and his rival, Ogunbiyi. As we approach the September 22nd, 2018 governorship election, our party moves forward as one." Now, Ogunbiyi narrowly lost to Adeleke, polling 1,500 62 votes is against Adeleke's 1,569 and had filed a petition against the senator's victory. His camp had since then accused Adeleke of rigging the primary election conducted by Bayelsa State Governor Dixon Inosogbo. Now, no, me, I was actually, elated somewhat. For one, that this, is being resolved. It kind of set a good tone for the upcoming elections in Osun State. And now, let's attribute it to the person who actually did it, because it's saying his first assignment. Now, Saraki, having, taken his time this is one feat that I must say is quite commendable, and an extra feather, on his shoulder. Obviously, there's nothing like having peace and unity in the party, because one was beginning to wonder, at the end of the day, since there was so much clash in the state, that would definitely, affect the elections. But from the look of things that happened yesterday, it looks like everything is, moving forward on a positive note.
Yeah, I think that would be good for the opposition at the state level. They should be able to, to latch on what the Senate president has been able to achieve so far, because there is no troop or troops that can go to the war front in disarray. If you just go to the war front in disarray, you'll definitely be a victim of war. So I think the best thing that the Senate president has been able to achieve so far is to bring the warring factions together. And that will also tell you that either we like it or not, the margin that differentiated, who win what, then was just maybe, I think 156 to, I'm not sure the votes was up to 10, so that is to tell you that both candidates are strong enough, to clinch the sole ticket of the opposition, PDP, and what the Senate president has been able to achieve, I think, is commendable, because if your house is not in order, the likelihood that you go out and fail is higher. So for Adeleke and Ogumbi, I think they should embrace this peaceful alliance that the Senate president has been able to achieve, and work together, because either we like it or not, either Ogumbi or Adeleke, they are all working for the same state, and for one purpose. And it's not just that, they also have some other strong, parties to contend with, especially the incumbents. And while that was going on, a few of the legislators in the state also defected to ADC. They said they are not just comfortable with the way the state is being run under the Aregbesola-led administration. So that is to tell you that there are a whole lot to contend with. And if, the contention is anything to go by, and you want to be part of those that will be contending, and you are not ready to put your house in order, you are already a failure before you take the first step, into the election. So for me, I think Saraki has done what is necessary. And from Ogumbi's point of view, he has come out to say some weeks ago or days ago that the PDP has not been able to resolve, the differences between him and the party's candidate. And I think that was a strong message, to the national leadership. And Saraki also used that as an opportunity to ensure that, to bring peace into the whole situation. I think that's a good one for them. Now the next thing for them to do is to go into the elections. The election.
Yes, and that's what I wanted to make question of, how INEC has come out to say that there is no room for vote buying in Australian elections. There's this fear with the trend that is, vote buying has taken, in past elections that we've been seeing, there's this fear of that happening. The Independent National Electoral Commission says it would not allow any form of electoral fraud in Osun State governorship election. Olusegun Agbaje, resident electoral commissioner in Osun State, says Osun State governorship election must be used to send a very strong message to vote buyers and sellers, as well as other perpetrators of criminal activities during elections. Agbaje also pledged that the commission will maintain its objectivity towards the 48 political parties and candidates contesting in the election.
All right, let's just hope that INEC will hold on to their promise. We've seen series of promises coming, before now, but we just hope that this time around they'll be able to do the needful in ensuring that Osun State governorship election is devoid of votes buying. All right, Aisha, very quickly at this point, we'll take a short break. We'll have our first guest, to open discussion and all of that. And when we come back, we'll still talk some more. So please stay.
We got a 24/7 light. We got water. We got the best amenities. And when I don't feel like going out, I just watch TV.
Nice. Star Times, right?
Come on, man. Can you get Fox TV on Star Times? Ebony Live TV? Discovery Family? Please.
Yes, no.
We get all that and more channels safe. The Star Times Classic Bouquet Reloaded is the best deal.
The best.
Well, if you're paying over 10,000 naira for a cable plan, then it has to be good.
Thank you, kid. We pay 1.9.
Choose it.
Get the best deals on channels like Fox TV, Ebony Live TV, ST Nollywood Plus, Discovery Family, and much more with Star Times Classic Bouquet Reloaded for only 1,900 naira from September 1st to October 31st, 2018. Don't miss out on all the drama, action, and comedy on Star Times. Star Times. Enjoy digital life.
Breaking news. MTN gives 2,000% bonus for reactivating your MTN SIM.
That's right. If you haven't used your MTN SIM for 45 days or more, recharge now and get 2,000% bonus. That's right, 2,000% bonus for your first recharge of every month.
Some days, of course, I'll get tired. Some days I will get beat up. Some days I will get knocked down and I will have some bad days. But I will not stop. This isn't punch the clock and go home for the day. Here, there's no such thing as a weekend. This is an everyday gig. Every day is a Monday. And you might not like that. Me, I love it. To me, every day is a beginning. A new day, a new week, a new shot at life. An opportunity to come out of the gate like a man possessed and attack the day without mercy. Today, I'm putting the pressure on. I am the aggressor. I am on the attack.
You don't get this far. You don't get to this point and just stop.
People that succeed quit quitting when things get hard. Any path you take to get where you want to be, if that place is worthwhile to go, it's going to be hard. Struggle, pain, misery, frustration, those are signs that you are on the right path. Nobody that is where you want to be has gotten there without these struggles, without the pain. And if you want to be something great, you are going to have to learn to accept the struggle as part of the recipe. Every single day you need to look yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, what am I willing to do to get what I want? And if the answer is, whatever the I have to, you'll get there in time.
It's necessary you take responsibility for it. That you make it happen, that you don't give up, that you don't take any objection or disappointment or defeats personally, that you keep on keeping on, that you don't decide that I can't make it because you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, that you realize that's a part of the program. See, as long as you're breathing, you got a shot at your dream. And here's something you've got to resolve. Not over till I get through. Not over till I get over. Not over till I get what I want. Door can't open today, look out. I'm going to come back and take the hinges off. That's how you got to do that. You've got to have that kind of courage, that type of determination. If you want to make it happen, it's you. But you've got to take personal responsibility to make it happen. We can point out many things that can make it inconvenient or can slow us down. But ultimately, it's you.
Everybody's got a dream. Everybody's got a goal. What's the plan? Your plan has got to be clear, concise, compelling, consistent, and committed. You've got to have a plan.
Don't go to bed without a plan of how you're going to handle the next day. You have to work at it every day. You have to plan.
Productivity is never an accident. I want you to understand that it's not going to happen by luck.
Success is cause and effect, not magic luck or magic fairy dust. Success is easy. It's making a plan and executing the plan every day. Make a plan, work the plan. Make a plan, work the plan. And whenever the plan doesn't work, you change the plan. That's called failure. It's called learning a lesson. It's called adjusting. If you do the work and you do it for a long enough time, you will be successful. Period.
Whatever it is you're bold enough to dream, if you are intentional and deliberate about it, every single day, if you do a little, you're going to wake up one day and your dreams are going to be a reality.
The shortcut is a lie. The hack doesn't get you there. And if you want to take the easy road, it won't take you to where you want to be. To reach goals and overcome obstacles and be the best version of you possible will not happen by itself. It will not happen cutting corners, taking shortcuts, or looking for the easy way. There is no easy way. There is only hard work, late nights, early mornings, practice, rehearsal, repetition, study, sweat, blood, toil, frustration, and discipline. Discipline, the root of all good qualities, the driver of daily execution. Discipline defeats the infinite excuses that say, not today, not now, I need a rest, I'll do it tomorrow. There is only one way, the way of discipline.
There's power in consistency. There's power in doing something over and over and over and over again. There's power in practice.
And your problem is, you are on beast mode Monday, Wednesday, Friday. 10 a.m. to 12, beast mode, 1 to 5.
You keep starting and stopping and starting and stopping.
I challenge you. I challenge you to make up the gap. I challenge you to go from average. I challenge you to go from good. I challenge you to go from great. And I challenge you to be phenomenal. I challenge you to live in beast mode. Because beast mode makes more money than average does, period.
When you are a true hunter, you don't go by time, you go by the gazelle. You don't hunt from 8 to 3, why? Because the gazelle may not be open from 8 to 3. You hunt until you get a gazelle, and you don't stop until you get one. And then you get another, and then you get another, and you get another.
Glad to have you back from that short break. Like we told you, we're having a couple of guests in the building, and as I speak with you, I have two young men here in the studio. one of them just stared at me, and now I'm really, really scared. But I can always have my way, I can tell you. All right, close to my left is Tokwe Fashua. I hope I got that right. ANRP aspirant. Good morning. Thanks for joining us today.
Presidential aspirant.
Yeah, presidential aspirant. Thank you for coming to this journey today. And to my far left is Ni Akishiju. He is part of the Buhari Media Organization. Thank you for finding our time to be here.
My pleasure.
You're a friend of the house, so we are not. We can really welcome you, at that level. Thank you very much for coming. Yeah, let me start with you, Ni. We've seen the president, embarked on a couple of trips, and the recent one, or the latest one, is the China trip. A whole lot of Nigerians are worried or probably asking questions that why China, even though we know that he is attending an Africa-China summit. But what do Nigeria stand to gain in all of this? Coupled with the fact that the president is also requesting to borrow over $300 and above for our country. Do you think this is healthy?
Yeah, thank you. I think in starting, we first need to acknowledge that we have a presidential candidate here with us. And in terms of pecking order, he's the most senior political person here. So we first acknowledge the presence of Mr. Fashaw. It's not easy to declare interest in the high office of the presidency of Nigeria, and such fellow that admits such declaration should be accorded due respect and acknowledgement. Going into what the president is doing in China. China is the biggest thing in the world. And of course, the world has become a global village. And from that global village, it has evolved what we call globalization. And what globalization tells you that no country stays in its corner of the universe. That's the countries that across the world must, by necessity and the need and reason of sustainability, be interlinked and cooperate, And of course, in the last few years, since Glasnost and all that, the world had been a unipolar world, but now we are seeing a bipolar world, especially at the economic level. So, and it's China that is facilitating that. We are now seeing a world that stands on two legs: the United States and China. When you start also calibrating the impact of economic resources and all that, there's now what you call questions around who comes first, either the U.S. or the China. And don't also forget that with each of these influences are also sphere of influences. The U.S. has its own sphere of influence. China has its own sphere of influence. And it's apparent China is trying to make inroads, especially into the last market, the African market. The president is in China now, in continuation of that relationship, of establishing, sustaining, and nurturing a relationship with a world economic power. And of course, when an entity with what you call a passable economic profile looks to establish a relationship with a world economic power, it is to be to the benefit of that lesser power.
Okay, quick question. I haven't made that statement. Looking at the way activities have been in the last week, you'd realize that there's some sort of clamor for Africa. We had, the German Chancellor and, representative from the UK come to the country in a span of a week, and that same day when the president received the German Chancellor, was off to Beijing. Why the East instead of the West? Did the president take much time, relative time, to completely check out these two platforms? Because then it's definitely a clamor for Africa. Yes, you said when you see a Western and a modernized approaching you, it's for your own interest. But then again, could we take back that time to review these options before deciding to go with China?
I think it's becoming also a competitive world for accessing resource. And for me, it's also great because it democratizes access to resources, either in Africa or with the developed world. You know, it's no longer about the United States and, of course, our traditional trading partner, UK. You know, now we have an alternative. And when you talk of alternative, you also look at the pricing. It calls for every resource or assistance you get from the Western world, it comes with conditions and conditionalities. The same thing you get from China, as it were, but you can now start comparing which of the conditions and conditionalities are more pliable, you know, are more favorable for me. And if it is China, you go that side. There's no underestimating the fact that over time, U.S. had been in charge of things, either through the World Bank, through the IMF and all that, you know. But it's also obvious that the World Bank and multilateral organizations under the influence of the United States that also be of immense assistance to the development of Nigeria and the larger African continent. We cannot run away from that. But at what price? Now, if we are getting a cheaper rate, as it were, either in terms of cost of funding, in terms of cost of assistance and all that, you go to that side too, you know. And of course, it does not also translate to mean that you are closing shop on this side, on the west side. It only means that you are expanding your area, you know, of either seeking support and all that to the east. And so it makes it for a better world. But the most important thing is, what do you do with the resources you are seeking for?
Okay, I can see you nodding, you know, quite continuously. Would you like to, you know, give some sort of reaction to this question?
Yeah, thank you. My view actually aligns with this, you know, as much as I'm an opposition politician, but it's not every time we have to criticize. China is the reality of the moment. Of course, a few people will say all sorts of things. You know, we had Rex Tillerson, former Secretary of State to the U.S., saying Africa should not go and enslave itself in China. And then you'd say, so is it better we just enslave ourselves to the West instead? Or what's that about? It's not meant to be, I mean, that was an impolitic statement, if you ask me. Because for one, African countries, and Nigeria especially, should be able to take its own decision on its own, and without any much ado. Of course, there's this thing called FOCAC, F-O-C-A-C, which is meant to be a sort of agglomeration of African countries dealing with China, and then they call this meeting from time to time. The last one was in South Africa. I think this time they had to go all the way to China to go and see them in China. It looks a bit denigrating, actually, having all African leaders going there, and seems like, okay, these guys are coming to beg for money. But what it must be said that the Chinese model is slightly better than the Western model. For one, they don't interfere that much in the politics of a country. And, you know, I remember in 2009, the time when Yar'Adua was out of the country, was ill, and Tony Blair and George Bush were in town. They were in Abuja, and there was a This Day summit in This Day Dome right here in Abuja. Tony Blair was here, George W. Bush was here, as well as Condoleezza Rice was here. And in the question and answer session, I was right there. I was like 10 meters away from Tony Blair and these guys. And, you know, someone popped a question about China and said, no, well, this China thing, what do you guys think about it, you know, and all of that. And of course, Tony Blair was the one that was asked the question. And he said, you know, that they've realized as Western countries that every time the African countries ask China for a road, the next day the China people, they show up with a digger. But that when they come to the West, that they give us a sheaf of papers to read through, a lot of small print that we hardly are able to, and so they understand themselves. You know, when Tony Blair made that statement, the next thing was George Bush basically grabbed the mic from Tony Blair and went on a tirade about how China people are despoiling our environment and all of that. So I thought again, they should stop treating us like children, right? We know what's good for us. if these guys are saying that, look, we're not going to interfere in your policy, which is, it's great. If you want to give us money, if you want to help our development, even though I believe ultimately we will have to help ourselves, you don't have to poke into every of our affair. You don't like the face of this leader. You want to move against him. You like the face of that one. That's the one that must be. I mean, that alone is enough disservice. All right? And then if you look at 1985-86, we went into SAP under the IMF and World Bank. And they advised us to do a number of things. Number one, privatize all privatizables, you know, devalue your currency, raise your interest rates, right? Mm-hmm. Because if you raise your interest rate, you're going to decelerate inflation and all of that. That you should privatize and reduce the size of the public service massively. And, you know, under Babangida, then we went and did that. And it created a lot of chaos, which we're still suffering from some of the lag effects as we speak. In 2008, 2009, when the world went into another, what they call the Great Recession, all right, we saw them taking the opposite, the exact, look, the nationalized companies, the nationalized car manufacturers in Detroit, they nationalized even banks. They put government money in banks so that people won't lose their jobs. You're right. They reduced interest rate almost to zero in order to accelerate the economy. All right. They protected their currency rather than devalue. You understand what I'm saying? You know, so look at that. I mean, what tells you that, look, ultimately African countries will have to think for themselves. So in that one, the only departure I will have is that we must move away from the overly reliance on external forces. Look, there's no amount of resources in Africa that we don't have, you know, whatever it is that we need to take ourselves forward, especially our human resources. Bill Gates was here the other day, all right? So it's not everything Western we have to disparage. But Bill Gates was here the other day giving us correct information and correct advice to the extent that we need to invest in our human capital. Because if we're investing in human capital, the human capital is what will unleash the remaining resources that we have, and we have in abundance in Nigeria. So, again, we have to go back and help ourselves to a large extent.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Just go ahead.
Quickly, I just wanted to pitch in this question. What is your reaction to those that have come out to say, okay, when we had this Abacha loot, it was shared, it was to be shared in this particular way, and we're going to get, you know, a little above that same amount from China. What do you have to say concerning that?
Well, comparison, I think what we're trying to get from China is $328 million. What we're getting, the Abacha loot is how much? 328 billion naira or so.
Yeah, 320 million
dollars. Okay, so it's almost the same amount of money. I, for one, don't believe that we should actually be sharing money to people like that. Because, listen, I'd rather say that before we give anybody money, let's be sure that they're doing a service, right? So, listen, for example, we can say Nigeria needs to be cleaner than it is. There's tremendous amount of work in the environmental sector. Rather than just share money to people on the street or whatever kind of criteria they're using to share the money, I'd rather you say, okay, you know what, government is going to give you some money, but look, you need to clean your street. You need to clean the gutters. We need to dig some more gutters. We need to clear stuff up. Until this country begins to look like those countries we like to run to, like the United States or the US or even China. I was meant to have gone to China last year. I've not been there before, but my friends that went, when they came back with the pictures, I was wowed that this country, the kind of aesthetics that countries are talking about now, you realize that we haven't even started at all. Even South Africa here, you know what I mean? You know, so to a large extent, we have that work to do. I would rather we pay for work done rather than this idea of sharing. I also say that the fact that Abacha loot was returned to Nigeria does not give anybody, including the government of the day, the right to share the money the way they want. It ought to have been subjected to debate because why? Abacha stole from the entire Nigerian people. Okay, but then you know what I mean? So if he stole from the entire Nigerian people, the entire Nigerian people should be the one deciding that this is what we want. It's not for one government. We can say we're not spending the money now, and we want our children unborn to benefit from the money. We should be the ones saying it's not just a case of a discretion. Because again, if the amount they're borrowing is equivalent to what they're taking from China, I mean, the amount they're sharing is equivalent to what they're borrowing from China, it kind of cancels that, doesn't make quite much sense. But I would say that there's a lot more that we can do with that money.
All right, very quickly, the
I think
the
argument has two faces, really, and principally it's an economic issue. It depends on which school of thought you belong in the economy. It's looking principally the way IMF, for instance, treated us with SAP. It's a school of thought. IMF with a lot of influence and influence by US. The same US had recession, went the Keynesian way, decided to drive, intervention, government intervention, and put as much money into the space, Now, the issue of how you deploy money too is also economy. For instance, if you say you're going to pay, you're going to give money to the vulnerable, it is part of capacity building, and this has its roots way back in the French Revolution, and as an economic theory, the truth of the matter is there is potential in poverty, and the potential in poverty is to first create dignity of the person who is poor. What makes someone poor? You don't have money to access basic necessity of life. I have followed a number of beneficiaries of this 5,000 naira, and I have interviewed them, and we have seen what that 5,000 naira had done in their life. It's capacity building, So, and the truth of the matter is we have run an economic template that only seeks to sustain and feed elites in Nigeria. So much that most elites see economic growth and progression from the prism of contract and work. And that is the issue with my brother here, It's not all about work. It is also about increasing the capacity of the person who is down to be able to first stand up and also move and contribute to the GDP. Because as a whole, we'll be looking at the productive capacity of the individual, and aggregated as a whole. So what I am trying to say here is, I support, perhaps I have a strong leaning to the socialist school of thought, and my strong leaning talks to the person, to the individual out there. What is the capacity of that one person amongst 190 million Nigerians?
Okay, why not let's consider the
I'm going to have to react to
that. How about let's talk about the capitalist school of thought, where those that are saying, okay, yes, sharing this money the way it was one of the conditions in which the money was released to us in the first place. Why get into that kind of agreement when you know that we're supposed to invest in something long term? Because someone will see, a capitalist mindset will see this as a temporary fix.
As is the same capitalism. It are expressed practice in the UK, in Canada, in the US. They also provide for welfare for its unemployed population, for those that are not working. And they are not, and we are not talking in the same space or spectrum. It's even higher level. Because capitalism over time had also come to recognize and acknowledge the fact that you must also take care of your vulnerable. Because the vulnerable is an individual in the figures of your total population. It's even worse in Nigeria, where we are talking of more than 80 million people living under living on $1.9 a day. It is incredibly scandalous to think that out there you have more than 80 million Nigerians that are not sure of 3 square meals a day. So it is the responsibility of government to be able to provide for that.
Let me come in here. I am very much surprised that you are talking, in this direction, because even from the government of the day, we heard some of the spokesmen of the government will come out to say people are not hungry. When people come out to say, there is hunger in the land and all that, we see them react so quickly. They say, no, there's no hunger in the land. Everybody's saying that there's hunger in the land. They are just trying to play politics. And now you are saying that over 80 million people, are vulnerable. They are living below $1.9 per day, which is less than, 400 naira, per day. don't you think there are contradictory, statements coming both from government and from other school of thought?
The issue is, when would we start realizing that Nigerians are hungry? Did it just start in 2015? 2011, 78 million Nigerians were living on this same. In fact, we're living under $1 then, because before the upscaling of the poverty threshold. 78 million Nigerians. But on the eve of the election in 2015, close to it had risen to about 80 million Nigerians. So it's not what I'm trying to say is it's not a new phenomenon, but it's as if politicians are trying to escalate the issue. Rather escalate it. Can we attend to it? Can we address it? And I'm practical enough to look at how we can address the issue. It's scandalous.
Okay. Let me react to some of what Mr. Akinshiju has said. And this I'm going to do by way of asking some pertinent questions, not of him, but of the process. So the issue is we are sharing this money. The question is, in a country where transparency is an issue, where accountability is still an issue, why would the government want to get into that controversy of making people poke fingers in what it's doing to say, how do you determine who is getting this money, who is getting the money? For example, I did raise an issue about even the Empower project when it was started, and I said, there was an instance where a single page was pulled out of the beneficiaries of the Empower, and I started searching them on the internet, and none of them could be found on the internet. And these are supposed to be university graduates. They are not on any social media platform at all. Their university didn't even publish their names when they finished school. And these were people who, their names were taken from Borno State, which was under a lot of Boko Haram siege then. So you don't do that. The least thing the worst thing we could be doing in this country is to basically be spreading money and throwing money out into the whatever. When what can be done? Look, after 1955, the Korean War, they planted about 50 million trees. In the north of Nigeria, we have a problem with desertification. You can tell these very poor people, okay, plant a tree and come and collect your money. And you can transform the country by... I'm not being capitalist, right? Equally not being socialist. I'm somewhere in the middle of the two, and I know about reasonability, and I agree that, countries like the US, UK, all of them have robust social programs which Nigeria should have, but is that where we should start? We're talking about a country that still suffers serious debilitating issues from corruption, and we have not been able to even recover most of the money that was stolen in the past, and some are still being stolen now, it must be said. So to a large extent, we need to be extremely careful. Let's not get into this controversy when we can afford not to. There's a lot of work that can be done in this country. You can even employ all of these people. Look, let me tell you one of the things I say. It may be controversial, but there's a lot of potential for government employment in this country. We're not talking of employing people in federal secretariat or state secretariat where they're carrying files all over the place. The difference between this country and the rest of the world, which I've studied and realized that's what it is by my own research, is that we have not made any provision to establish a minimum standard of living for our people anywhere they may be found. Go to your villages, you will not see any presence of government there. No road work, no public work, no water, no lights, no nothing, no school, no health center. That is potential for government work. Push them there. Give them the money, pay them there. Let them even spend some money in those villages. All of us now are going to Lagos. We fly over all of those cities. We fly over all of those towns. All the big men, they are flying. Before, when cars were even slower, I remember in the 70s, you're traveling with your parents, you guys will have to stop in different places. From usually you stop in Lokoja, then you stop again, whatever, you sleep overnight. You're spending money in those local economies. All of those things have disappeared now. We all plugged into the modern technology, and we fly over those. We're not thinking about those people. So we're talking about an opportunity to reorganize the economy itself. This is the first level. The economic restructuring of this country is the opportunity they are passing by. That $326 million of $320 million of Abacha could have been used as a catalyst to restructure this economy. Restructure the economy. You can actually... So first of all, in terms of government employment, this country employs about 3% of its workforce in the public sector, and we complain that there are too many. There are not too many. The other day I was talking with a former member of the House of Reps. He was telling me that Bill Clinton told them when he came in 2003 that the most important thing for us to do now is to reduce the size of the civil service. Again, that's another bad American advice. They know better. Because in America and the USA, 17% of the workforce is employed in the civil service. The biggest employer is the Ministry of Defense, Department of Defense of the UK, of the USA. They employ 3.7 million people. In the UK, the largest employer is the National Health Service, the NHS. They employ 2.1 million people. And in the UK itself, 20% of the workforce is employed by government. Look, we're saying that let us first of all give ourselves this human dignity back. Do our people need health? Yes, they do. Can you concentrate on that? Do they need education? Can you concentrate on that? Can you now use the people to reorganize the people? It's the people you have to employ to provide the services. But when you leave the people in the village to their own devices, you leave people in the small towns to their oown devices, you're buying cars for yourselves and largessing all over the place, flying first class everywhere and all of that, this is what you get. There's potential, that $20 million could have been used to employ people and send them to all of these poor areas where there's absolutely no presence of God. Look, there's even a space for employment, all right, in reorientating the people of this country. MAMSA became NOA. NOA is dead today, but the people need reorientation. Here's a country where we're discussing restructuring from the perspective of breaking the country into pieces. We need the young people of this country to be incentivized to go out and interact with our people and explain to our people and let them know the reason why it's going to be very tough and that there's nothing wrong. You know, if you're a Muslim or you're a Christian, you're Northern or you're Southern or you're Yoruba Christian, you know, Yoruba, Igbo, Hausa and all of that. That's tremendous opportunity for employment. And employment should actually be at the level of secondary school leavers. Look, there's going to be a lot of opportunity for training those people that will now be sent out to go and retrain our people and interact with our people. Some of the grouses that our people have with the government of the day is that they don't see anybody from government. That's the truth. And then you come during politics season, and then you go there and deceive them and give them 2,000 naira. So what you have done is they have weaponized this poverty and brought the people low. So the people are actually looking forward to these 2,000, 3,000 naira that you give them until the next 4 years.
So will you rather say the $328 million that the president is seeking from China is a misplaced priority?
Well, I won't quite say so, you know, because again, we need to be very, very analytic here. Because that money I can see in a newspaper that is targeted at the ICT backbone or something, you know. So, hey, you can borrow. Again, my own thinking about borrowing is this. You don't look, there's this school of thought, okay? There's this school of thought that believes that a government must always borrow. I don't believe in that. A government, like, I'll take the German perspective. The German perspective is that the government is also the agglomeration of every household, every business, every individual, and that's what it is. So the way you manage your own personal finance is also the way you should manage the government finance if you are in government. The way the states will manage, you know, so it all dovetails. So there's nothing wrong in borrowing. However, I would say that when you're borrowing as a government, it should be directed at a project that is also having a bit of cash flow of its own. You should borrow with a view to repaying. And therefore, I believe that at least 40% of the money that we use to repay that fund should come from the project that you're financing. So you're financing ICT, and you can trace how you can make the money from the ICT. Great, go and borrow. If you're financing rail, and you can trace that you go commercial with those rail, or you can, you know, on power or whatever. Great, go ahead and borrow. What I don't support is the idea of borrowing for social projects that are typically social, that we should be able to raise our own money to finance. For example, we're borrowing to eradicate polio. What are we doing with our own resources that we're running around trying to borrow? We're borrowing even for in places like Kano State and so on. When Macron came here the last time, we borrowed $475 million. We signed a deal. You know, part of it is for water in Kano. I don't believe we need to be borrowing from everywhere. We're borrowing $55 million from Hungary for the same water project. Right? So we can't, I believe that that's preposterous, you know, and it shows us up as being very irresponsible. But if you target your borrowing to projects that fund themselves, great. Let me land by saying this. In 1962, I came across a World Bank document, you know, that in 1962 we borrowed $13.5 million from the World Bank to finance the building of Apapa Road in Lagos, right? And as at that time, 1 Nigerian pound was equal to $2.80, which is almost $3. 1 naira, as at that time, call it naira, but it was pound then, was equivalent to almost $3. Right? In 2018 today, we're trying to borrow $50 million from the same World Bank to finance the same Apapa Road for the same reason that it's difficult to clear goods from the wharf of Nigeria. Of course, Nigeria has grown bigger. However, now $50 million at least 300 naira to $1. The value of the currency, the value of our currency has lost, has dropped by 300 times 3, which is 900. We have dropped down by about 900 times. You know what I mean? So that's what, then you now ask yourself, what all the monies we have collected from people who have been clearing goods from Apapa, what have we done with it? That we have to go back to the same World Bank. Look, it just shows our government, not this very one alone. This one, okay, maybe they are even trying. I mean, let me give it to my Egmont here, And, yeah, you see, listen, part of us, what we're doing as an opposition people is also to throw a lot of these ideas out there to get them to sit up. I won't deceive you, maybe in the last 3-4 months, the Buhari government has done some of the things right. But before then, they were asleep, right? They were asleep. And so we needed to come to the fore as young candidates and young aspirants to put them on fire a little bit, But these things need to be said, So these ones have been okay. But what we're saying is that Nigeria is still the most misgoverned country in the world. Because if you forget the federal level, go to the states. The guys are living like fiefdoms. All right? They're living like fiefdom. They sit on the money of the local government. They say they have joint account. They send a little bit of money there. What's going on there? And many of the states are also over-borrowed. What have they been doing with the money? My state, Ondo State, where he's also from, unfortunately, by the time the new man came, Oli Maketi, said he inherited 220 billion naira as debt. You cannot trace 220 billion to any project in Ondo State, or any of the projects put together that is generating that amount of money. So I say that Nigeria is this country where we borrow money that we don't even intend to repay. And I remember what happened in 2006, pre-2006, all right, when Obasanjo used to say look, Nigeria, we borrowed only $18 billion, right? We paid back $38 billion, but we were still owing $35 billion. Do the math. And Nigeria was the only country in the whole of Sub-Saharan Africa that was asked to pay back some money in order to get the cancellation. The rest were given total cancellation. Unfortunately, we're back in debt. So we shouldn't be going. And I remember, lastly, I remember then published in the Punch and the Tribune the list of the loans that Nigerian governments had taken. And many of the state governors have gone, they borrowed money for underground, like you have in London. They borrowed money in this country. The money disappeared. They borrowed money for metro. The money disappeared. They borrowed money for different kind of airports all over this country. Many of the governors. Why are we doing this to ourselves?
Okay, quickly, Hemi. Yes, we understand, what has been in our economic space, talking about how the president is recently trying to make that change and bring about, talking about what he said on Monday, that there's going to be infrastructural. We're tilting towards China being positive. Let's come back home to what's been happening, in the political space and things that brought the likes of, him here to come discuss. We're talking, the APC just came out recently to tell us that, okay, our forms that were supposed to be slated for, 55 million naira is now 45. And just yesterday we saw, some rights group purchase this form. Let's talk about this administration that was the same that signed the Not Too Young to Run. We've had these young aspirants come out to say this process is inhibiting, this monies that are being slated for these forms is inhibiting us from actually taking advantage of what was given to us in the platter of gold. What is the present administration looking towards? What are they doing with this vis-a-vis the Not Too Young to Run that they pushed for?
Well, I should concede the power of advocacy of the youth in the first instance to be able to get the Not Too Young to Run bill passed into law. That is one single character that I want to see consistently in the Nigerian youth. Because we were also youth before. Specifically in 1987, 88. The the field, the political field, was populated by very old men. And some of us decided there was this no party platform, councillorship, chairmanship election for local governments. We were just out of the university, and we thought it's time to also get one of our generation, you know, into the place. And we came together. We won. We decided who became chairman. A 23-year-old boy became councillor. And I'm talking of a space that is bigger than FCT. The whole of FCT became councillor. It is a collection of people, of young ones that made that come to pass. So what I'm trying to say essentially is, you cannot wait for government, you know, to determine the capacity of your aspiration and the limits of your aspiration. If he had been considering the money and whatever resources involved, he wouldn't have stepped out. Because in the Nigerian culture today, if you step out to say you just want to become what? Councillor. In the face of the mass of the people, you have become an Abiola that is supposed to be giving money to everybody so as to influence them to vote for you. There's a whole need to change our perspective and perception.
And you think the line that was told is the right one?
No, what I'm trying to say is this. The young ones have done so much. And I'm even saying they have not shown capacity because that act itself is still deficient.
Yes.
You are only concerned with governor and president. It only shows the young ones are only concerned with the executive where they think money is. What about the legislative arm?
But don't you think is a right step in the right direction, starting from somewhere?
It is not supposed to be starting from somewhere. So those things are supposed to be 360 degree. You are asking for qualification to run for an office, and you are saying you are now segregating, delineating a certain office for yourself that you are interested in. What makes makes an 18-year-old person unqualified to run for state assembly at the state level? What stops a 22-year-old to qualify to run for House of Reps? What stops a 25-year-old to run for Senate?
No, I think we also need to understand that the beauty of law is the reenactment and revisiting.
So
you
that's
understand?
what I've just
now,
said.
that's why I put it straight up to you. Don't you think this is a bold step, starting from somewhere?
I am saying
all this that you are saying can come on
I am
later
saying
on.
It is deficient. It is deficient because I have now acknowledged that it is deficient. Means that there is a need for it to be reviewed.
Does that justify,
that's what I'm saying.
Does that now justify the some sort of barricade that is being put on these ones that were targeted? The executive that you said were targeted, positions that you said the youths are targeted because they feel
I as a person, I really don't know why that kind of sum, was placed. But again, I also understand the fact that politics is collective. You are not supposed to buy that form from your pocket. It should be an aggregation of collectives. People are supposed to donate for a candidate or for an aspirant of their interest. That is the meaning of politics. That's the meaning of democracy.
Okay, now saying this definitely is that the reason why that's what was seen recently in the news, where tomorrow yesterday a ticket was gotten for the president in his absence, and one was gotten for Atiku. Is this a trend that they were trying to use to justify the statement? Because saying that they are...
I'm not justifying it. I'm not just... What I'm saying is politics is collective. See, it's 55,000... 55,000 at 45,000. You only need 45,000 Nigerians donating 1,000 to get 45 million.
No, I want to put it straight to you.
No, let me just land on that.
No, wait, I'm coming. Just as a follow up on all of this. Now, do you sincerely believe that the president cannot single-handedly pay 45 million for his nomination?
Even if you could.
No, yes or no?
No,
that is
leading.
No, I'm coming.
I
have my
access to the account of the president.
I know.
We are trying.
No, I know you are not. You are not. We are just trying to put one-on-one together. Sincerely, from you as a Nigerian and someone who is in the media team of the president, do you think as a sitting president you cannot conveniently put that money together, in as much as you know that 3 years ago you are going to recontest for the same office that you're in? Don't you think it's possible?
You may even have all that money in your account, But I'm saying that the proper thing in politics is to have people buy into you. That is the meaning of democracy. You stand for something. People buy into your vision. When they buy into your vision, they also create a stakeholders mentality in that vision. And by creating a stakeholders mentality in that vision, they invest in it. That is what has caused this misfunction in the political field. We expect somebody, he's as presidential hopeful on his party platform, is expected to run, to sponsor, to finance everything in the party. Meanwhile, you are supposed to have members. It's supposed to be bottom up. Members are supposed to donate to run that party. If you have the kind of template platform we use now, is what encourages godfatherism. You know? So if I have 45 million, it is not supposed to be my 45 million that I should use to buy the form. People should donate to those who believe in me, should donate to me in small bits and pieces. And those are the people I'm going to be responsible to when I get to office. Because what they have donated is not substantial in the first instance. So they cannot hold me to my throat. But when you have someone contributed 10 million, 20 million, 50 million, then you have issues. Those one will become influencers in whatever you do. So we are encouraging Nigerians to go back to the basics. Let us also start financing our democratic process. That is when we can own it. And even if the money is 100 million, we have 100 million Nigerian youths, you know. Okay, let's even say 20 million Nigerian youths that can donate 1,000, 2,000, and they become stakeholder in the process. That is what I can pass for.
Having heard him say this, you being one who is in the process, you know, and lately we've seen what's been happening with different groups coming up and paying. Do you buy into this? Do you see the feasibility of this happening? Let's talk about how you raised your own money to get your tickets.
Well, the good, the bad, the ugly. Let me say that, let me start with the bad, well, it's also the good. In my party, the presidential nomination fee is only 1.5 million. And it goes down the line like that. For councillors, we even give them for free. For maybe local government chairman, about 100,000 or something like that, So equally for House of Rep, maybe about 200,000 naira. So again, the message is to Nigerian youth. Many Nigerian youths, quote and unquote, are always looking for that which is ready-made. So you go to APC, they have structure. You don't find out how did the structure come to play. You are not even trying to build your own structure. You want to leverage on somebody else's structure, which has been there. Then they are going to ask you, go and bring 10 million naira, 15 million naira, 20 million naira, whatever you see there. But I really agree with him. And however, it's going to be difficult to drive this thing down. The truth is that, yes, people should actually come together to finance those they believe in. Because if he uses his own money, he's going to recoup his money. And if you let a few people do that for him, they're going to be, they're going to be teleguiding him and bossing him. And, there was a time in this country where a governor was made to kneel down in the bathroom in the Hilton, and they were slapping him. The guys that sponsored the guy, he's a minister today, So I actually agree with that, But we need to, the Nigerian youth need to begin to think differently about this. However, I would also
you might have to hold your thoughts there. We have a caller on the line. Hello, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. What's your name and where are you calling us from, please?
My name is Adamu.
Adamu from where?
Taraba.
Taraba. Go ahead, please, Adamu.
Yes. That man who said he wants to contest for, is he president?
Yes.
Please, he needs to tell us, because getting all this money that he said Nigeria borrow from all these years, all the borrowing they borrow, what will he do different?
Okay. Thank you very much, Adamu from Taraba State. Adamu is asking what exactly will you do differently from all the borrowings that we've seen successive government have done. But before you go into that, maybe you try to draw a conclusion on what you
Yes, I was going to say that, again, I see that the president of this country, to answer that your question, you treat him, ordinarily speaking, from the salaries of the president, he's not supposed to be able to afford 45 million. Except you are saying if the president is there because he's a president and he collects a good job from different people who are doing jobs. Ordinarily, it's going to be difficult for Buhari, but I don't know why they put that money there. But that's APC's, its own problem. And, they are battling now. Someone this morning has taken them to court on this. I don't know why Oshiomhole is running, but he's favorite to parties like ANRP, where I belong to be able to, use the mistakes of parties like APC and, get more people to come and. If Nigerian people know that we don't have money, come to parties that are giving you a red carpet to join us, and we're going to give you everything you want, support. And that is how structures are built. APC, you can trace back to Action Group. Action Group became UPN in the 70s. Action Group started in the 40s when they were merely 30-something years old. Baba Awolowo and Co. were 30s, in their 30s. Became UPN. UPN became SDP under Babangida. SDP became AD. And AD became ACN, merged with CPC to form APC. Equally, PDP, you can trace back to MPC. Those are so you can see UPN was leftist. MPC was rightist, conservative. Became MPN in the 70s. Became NRC under Babangida. Became PDP. But at some point in time, they started running in between. We don't know who is who anymore. Because they've all shuffled. Okay, so regarding that issue of borrowing, I personally, again, that's what I'm saying. Look, there's enough money in this country. It's an opportunity for me to talk about the way we budget, which also tells us about something is amiss. Nigeria's budget this year is 9.1 trillion naira. If you divide that by 360 to the dollar, that is $25 billion. Angola is budgeting $47 billion. Angola is budgeting twice what Nigeria is budgeting. Angola has 25 million people. Nigeria has 180 million people. Per capita federal budget per person, that means the budget the government has made per person in Nigeria is $140 a year. Divide that by every day, by 360 days, that's about 30 cents. And out of that 30 cents, some people will come and embezzle half of it. And that's the meaning of poverty. So South Africa is budgeting $155 billion.
You have to hold on. Again, we have another caller.
Hello,
good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Yeah, what's your name and where are you calling us from, please?
My name is Atama. I'm calling from Lagos.
Atama, please go ahead. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I just really want to make contribution in respect of the issue of, I was saying that party members should sponsor or they should contribute to assist an aspirant.
Okay.
I think we need to be realistic. If we are talking about party members, people who are looking for 2 naira when they gather, they are looking for 500 naira when they gather from anybody around. You are telling them to make contribution feasible. When this issue of saying bring 200 million to buy from is still going back to the where some people will came up together and buy the form for the candidate, and they will stand somewhere after election money back. It is not going to be feasible in this era at all because we have so many issues on our hand that we have not even addressed. We want, I listened to somebody talking that Obama raised money from the public in the U.S. For God's sake, in U.S., people can drop $100, and they will not feel it. Here in Nigeria, the poor masses cannot even drop 50 naira. So it is still the money bags that will raise that money and give to the president or whoever to buy the form. Don't deceive ourselves. When you are talking on television, you'll be talking as if Nigerians are fools. May God bless us.
Thank you, Atama, for calling all the way from Lagos. Just try and manage your emotions, most times on
Can I conclude my point, please, very quickly?
Okay, very quickly.
First to say that, so in terms of, I was comparing the budget level. And when we're comparing budget level, what we're comparing is actually the revenue capacity generating level. That how come Nigeria cannot generate within its economy much more revenue than Angola? How come Angola is generating twice revenue from these 25 million people that it has, and from that economy that's not even one of the biggest in Africa, and Nigeria cannot do that? How come South Africa is budgeting $155 billion and Nigeria is budgeting $25 billion. We say that our economy is bigger than South Africa. We don't believe that. So, look, my own promise is that we should be able to double this economy in 4 years, double this GDP in 4 years. My own promise is that we should be able to budget from 9 trillion, we should be able to budget 20 trillion every year, and that there's a lot of monies that are missing in this country that we must go after and collect it back from our people, and we have to reorder our spending, you know, because there's so much money going into to just feed the egos of a few people. You know, you get the government, one bulletproof car now is about 150 million naira. And we have people in this country on the back of the suffering people of this country, they have several of that in their convoy. You know, so that's it. So I personally don't believe in unnecessary borrowing. Again, as I've said before, anything a government is borrowing must be tied to a project that can generate at least part of the revenue for its payback. Otherwise, we are going to be in another debt trap as we were before 2006. In fact, one will say that we already were in that debt trap. We have moved our debt level from 11 trillion when Jonathan left to 22 trillion today. Part of the problem, though, is that, you know, they devalue the currency, and that kind of ballooned out the foreign aspect of it.
Sorry, Tucker, we have another call on the line. Hello, good morning. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, good morning. What's your name and where are you calling us from, please?
I'm Robert Jalingo.
Robert from Jalingo. Go ahead, please.
First of all, I want to say good morning to all of you there.
Morning.
I want to talk about the president's visit and all the loans and everything that is been happening in this country. If you recall back in the president's campaign in 2014, he made a lot of comments concerning our economy. He has tell Nigerians, a lot of citizens, that we have what it takes for us to build our country. And it is the same president that is now going for borrowing. We know leadership, or the quality of a good leader, is one who uses both human and material resources to achieve the objective of its organization, and which the organization of the president is the country. We have all the oil, we have the cocoa, we have the gold, we have everything in this country. If the country or the president and the cabinet telling us that they don't know what to use, they don't know the methods to apply in order to utilize these resources to achieve the developmental objectives of this country, why going on borrowing? China are not going anywhere to do that. China have did a policy of each one to teach one. If we want to develop as a country, all we need to do is for us to lay our hands on the materials, and we have the human resources. We have a lot of engineers, we have a lot of agriculturists, we have a lot in different and diverse fields of specialization in this country. But because of selfish political interest, most of us doesn't want to use those resources at hand because of one political reason. So I want to urge the led government of APC, please, it is high time. Nigeria, we need to develop. All we want is for them to sit down and draw out a map. This is what we want to do. If it is an agricultural sector, all this noise making in agriculture, up till date, Nigeria are still in hungry. What is the government doing in agriculture? They will tell you that they've been giving loan, they've been giving. Where is the loan? Because what we want is a practical application of what is happening in this country. And on the issue of buying farms of 45 million naira, it is not good. It is very wrong for a political party like APC, who wants to unite the country, who wants to work in line with programs of the citizens in order for the citizens to benefit. These are the government that signed the Not Too Young to Run bill, but yet they were unable to make it affordable for an ordinary person to vie for a political position in this country. And you are saying that you want to remove money, too much money in the political scene, so that people who doesn't have money will get into politics. It is very wrong. The president, we know that all this is politics. Someone will tell you that somebody buy a phone for me, somebody buy a phone for me. We are not fools. Nigerian, our mumu don't do. Please, we should know how to make things right for our citizens because we have grown up. We have passed to the level of where in the 1999 somebody will tell you that it is my governor told me to come and contest, and everybody will be scared of governor. Nobody is scared of any who now because we know that our rights in this country must be defended. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Thank you very much, Robert. Okay, as we begin to round up the program now, I want us to try to draw a conclusion at this point. Nee, what do you think the government should be doing at this point, having considered to borrowing that huge amount of money? What should the government be doing
I don't
going
think
forward?
it's a huge amount of money because borrowing, like you noted, has a purpose. If you are borrowing for consumption, that's when you have headache. If you are borrowing for productive reason, it's appropriate. The biggest economies in this world borrow. And borrowing does not also mean that if you have so much in your resources, you don't borrow. You borrow to complement what you have. See, it is wondered to all development economists in the world that Nigeria even developed, grew by the percentage we are talking without functional railway lines. How many functional ports do we have in Nigeria? These are basic infrastructure that are the underlings of development, and we don't have them. We are talking of agriculture. There's little we can do about agricultural growth if we don't have our highways and our rural linkage roads onto those highways. Those are infrastructures. They are the productive infrastructure. Those are the infrastructure that help you build your capital over time. So the truth of the matter is we are not even borrowing enough because as it is, we don't even know where to invest what we are borrowing. We have such a huge deficient infrastructure, and if you don't have it, you won't grow. It's as simple as that. And that when in 2009, 2010, and up to 2012, we're talking about 5% development, 6% GDP growth. We can only talk about it in our bank accounts. It does not impact the lives of the people because infrastructure that people can collectively, share in are not available. And when I talk infrastructure, I'm not talking about roads alone. I'm not talking about railways alone. I'm talking about the classroom buildings. I'm talking about hospital structures, hospital equipments, and all that. We don't have them, and no matter how creative we are, I want to give kudos to Mr. President here, for even having the courage to come out to champion the cause, of some people, of some segment of the Nigerian population. That's what it represents. Because when you look at the challenges in this country, people just sit back and talk. The challenges are huge, starting from the people that go to party meeting expecting 50 naira. That fellow that just talked now does not know that he has created a vortex that we will not get out of as long as we carry that sentiment. And the unfortunate thing is people who can afford those 50 naira, 100 naira, 1,000 naira are moving away from the parties, are moving away from politics. These same people that move away from politics are on the sideline, waiting for when the politician will emerge and they will come befriending him. They are the major beneficiaries of political offices. See, it's a complicated thing, and we need to be clear-headed about it. But the first thing we need to understand is that we need a government that will apply investment and resources appropriately. If we don't have it, we will be going around in circles. Right. If you have 87 million poor people living under 400 naira, and I'm insisting again, is an emergency.
Okay, all right. That's a good point for you there, Akishiju. Okay, Tokwe, finally, what will you do differently, as far as poverty is concerned in Nigeria? Well, in 30 seconds.
30 seconds. Clearly, as I said before, tap into the issue of, reforming the budget system and the budget process, the revenue generation process. All MDAs, ministries, departments, agencies should be governed by CEOs who will be on target. If you don't have a target and something to deliver, you can't meet your target, you're out. That's the way to go for it. You know, it's not a case of many of them make money and then they spend the money. That's what it's always been. Under Jonathan, it was like that. Even now, we have not seen any salutary position that we're moving away from that perspective. Then again, there's a lot of employment to be generated, even within government. The private sector is not in the business of creating employment. They're in the business of making money using as little resources as possible. So the government must not be irresponsible to say the private sector will give us the employment. It's not going to happen.
All right,
so now we must, the way to generate the employment is to understand that our people, anywhere they may be found on the space of Nigeria, demand and they deserve to live like proper human beings, and those services that they need, water, food, electricity, water view, roadworks, and all of that, as he has just said, must be provided in order for them to get to that level.
Thank you very much, Tope Fashua, the presidential aspirant under the ANRP. We say thank you for finding the time to grace our studio this morning. And then the ever outspoken Nii Akeshiju, thank you very much for coming on. Yes, for coming on the show today. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. All right, this is how much time will permit us on the show today. We hope we've been able to bring you up to speed on the trip of Mr. President and also what the presidential candidate of the ANRP has in stock for us as a nation. All right, so we'll hit the screen tomorrow morning, God willing. It's going to be the Friday edition of New Day. From my colleague Aisha Jabril, you want to say a goodbye?
Yes, it's been a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful episode, and I'm sure most of you are now more enlightened. We've shared into what's been happening. We had the opportunity to call in and give our, contributions and whatnot. Keep it to date, same time, same station. Tomorrow morning. It's been a wonderful, great pleasure.
And remember,
yes,
Nigeria will definitely be great again. All right, see you tomorrow and have a lovely day.
Usual, I am excited today. Like, AY has done a whole lot for people. I'm not just his baby mama, I am his manager. And we all know that Wizkid had he had numbers of baby mamas. And
he said you don't need some leaders of the National Assembly.
The worst form of democracy is said to be better than the best form of military regime.
We are trying to build political blocks.
Just days after he defected from your party, I believe the politics taken too far.
Members of the new board of Police Service Commission.
That's also the fact that his seat should be declared vacant because we have some states that have experienced, some level of insecurity.
The headship or the leadership of the Senate or the House of Representatives.
But I have gone beyond that now, beyond partisanship.
I don't think a lot of you know the crisis in the embassy.
We know that the people of the country are getting more information about what is happening to us.
With what you know about the person, you can go ask yourself.
But one of the things I've come to observe is that
I'm the Agbero. That made me like this Agbero.
He don't need PVC. He don't need PVC. I was trying to convince him.
News emerged that Jones Abiri, a Bielsa-based journalist, is out on bail.
And there's nothing, of course, that makes them to have this guy.
As a citizen, first of all, every citizen has the right. What is happening in society, what is happening everywhere around him.
From that day, Saraki knew that he was a madman.
the APC. He should ask his people who leaked the information. That is his business.
This is not the first time JSS was taking over the National Assembly.
It may be extremely very difficult to remove a Senate president.
But the question is the viability of most of these 91 political parties.
Of course, you can't prosecute without investigation.
It will be easier for you to have those people with the like minds to join you.
People's Television Nigeria has gone mobile. You can now watch PTV Nigeria on the go anywhere in the world with real-time notifications. Just go to Google Play Store if you're on Android or Apple Store if you're on iOS. Search PTV Nigeria, download, it's free, it's easy. Now you can catch up with the latest news analysis and political discourse on the go. So stay connected with PTV, Nigeria's #1 online TV.
Soldiers helping Nigerian soldiers fight Boko Haram.
We will have to persuade Nigerian legislatures.
This is coming together of people who are confused.
Executive order should comply with the law. I personally dissociate myself completely.
From this interview, because you have said
there had hardly been any administration.
Under the law, no religious body in Nigeria
validate the claims by the INEC chairman. It is
News 24 Extra is taking it up a notch. You can now have news curated to your interest anywhere in the world with real-time notifications. Just go to Google Play Store if you're on Android or Apple Store on iOS. Search News 24 Extra. Download, it's free, it's easy. Now you can catch up with the latest news in politics, entertainment, lifestyle, sports, and much more. So stay connected with News 24 Extra. News at your fingertips.
People's Television Nigeria has gone mobile. You can now watch PTV Nigeria on the go anywhere in the world. For real-time notifications, just go to Google Play Store if you're on Android or Apple Store if you're on iOS. Search for PTV Nigeria. Download. It's free. It's easy. And now you can catch up with the latest news analysis and political discourse on the go. So stay connected with PTV, Nigeria's #1 online TV.
Hello there and welcome to Kizin Africana. I'm your host Lilian Ogazi. Now today I have an amazing chef and a very short, interesting meal. This week again.
Yeah, this week again we have something super amazing.
Okay, last week was amazing and then this week it is super amazing. So what are we preparing this week that is super amazing?
What we have to make today is called Ikira Nicho. Now, Icho is the name for Tayam.
Okay.
Then Ikira is the Ikira made from Icho. So
what is Ikira first? This is Ikira made from Icho.
The name given to
sounds like Akara.
Yes, but I don't want to use the word Akara because in my language we call it Ikira.
So Ikira Nicho.
Yes, that's to cakes made from Watayam.
Hello viewers, welcome to this edition of the Darling Program Banking and You. I'm your regular host, Jerry Ojono.
One of the reasons for the crowd in the banking hall have to do with the bulk of people who use the ATM.
One of the banks happened to be one of our very old banks. Okay, they were doing that. They've been doing that for quite a while. You know, the level of education usually has not
verification for those with current accounts.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you have the situation.
Hello viewers, welcome to this edition of the Darling Program Banking and You. I'm your regular host, Jerry Jonathan. With me today,
People's Television Nigeria has gone mobile. You can now watch PTV Nigeria on the go anywhere in the world with real-time notifications. Just go to Google Play Store if you're on Android or Apple Store if you're on iOS. Search PTV Nigeria, download, it's free, it's easy. Now you can catch up with the latest news analysis and political discourse on the go. So stay connected with PTV, Nigeria's #1 online TV.
As usual, I am excited today. Like, AY has done a whole lot for people. I'm not just his baby mama, I am his manager. And we all know that Wizkid had he had numbers of baby mamas. And
he said you don't need some leaders of the National Assembly.
The worst form of democracy is said to be better than the best form of military regime.
We are trying to build political blocks.
Just days after he defected from your party, I believe the politics taken too far.
Members of the new board of Police Service Commission.
You know, that's also the fact that his seat should be declared vacant because we have some states that have experienced, you know, some level of insecurity.
The headship or the leadership on the Senate or the House of Representatives.
But I have gone beyond that now, beyond partisanship.
I don't think a lot of you know the crisis in the ABC.
We know that the people of the country are getting more information about what is happening to us.
With what you know about the person, you can go ask yourself.
But one of the things I've come to observe is that
I'm the Agberu. That made me like this Agberu.
He don't need PVC. He don't need PVC. I was trying to convince him.
News emerged that Jones Abiri, a Bielsa-based journalist, is out on bail.
And there's nothing, of course, that makes them to have this guy.
As a citizen, first of all, every citizen has the right. What is happening in society, what is happening everywhere around him.
From that day, Saraki knew that he was a madman in the APC.
He should ask his people who leaked the information. That is his business.
This is not the first time JSS was taking over the National Assembly.
It may be extremely very difficult to remove a Senate president.
But the question is the viability of most of these 91 political parties.
Of course, you can't prosecute without investigation.
It will be easier for you to have those people with the like minds to join you.
Thomas Sankara was born into a Catholic family. Sankara belonged to an ethnic group that originated with marriage between Mosi men and women from the pastoralist Fulani people. After basic military training in secondary school in 1966, Sankara began his military career at the age of 19, and a year later he was sent to Madagascar for officer training at Antsirabe, where he witnessed popular uprisings in 1971 and 1972. After he returned to Upper Volta in 1972, in 1974 he fought in a border war between Upper Volta and Mali. In 1976, he became the commander of the Commando Training Center in Pau and was appointed Secretary of the State for Information in the military government in September 1981. He attended his first cabinet meeting on a bicycle, but he resigned on April 21, 1982 in opposition to what he saw as the regime's anti-labor drift, declaring misfortune to those who gag the people. After another coup in November 7, 1982, which brought Major Dr. Jean-Baptiste Couedro to power, Sankara became Prime Minister in January 1983, but he was dismissed just after 4 months in office and placed under house arrest with Henri Zongo and Jean-Baptiste Bukari Lingani after a visit by the French president's son and African Affairs advisor Jean-Christophe Mitterrand. His arrest caused a popular uprising. In 1983, a group of revolutionaries seized power on behalf of Sankara in a popularly supported coup in 1983. Aged just 33, Sankara became the president with the goal of promoting the well-being of the poorest people in the country by eliminating corruption and the dominance of the former French colonial power, among other things. He immediately launched one of the most ambitious programs for social, ecological, gender, and economic change ever attempted on the African continent. To symbolize this new autonomy and rebirth, he renamed the country from the French colonial Upper Volta to Burkina Faso, meaning land of the upright man. His foreign policies were centered on anti-imperialism, with his government eschewing all foreign aid, pushing for odious debt reduction, nationalizing all land and mineral wealth, and averting the power and influence of the International Monetary Fund and World Bank. His domestic policies were focused on preventing famine with agrarian self-sufficiency and land reform, prioritizing education with a nationwide literacy campaign, and promoting public health by vaccinating 2,500,000 children against meningitis, yellow fever, and measles. Other components of his national agenda included planting over 10 million trees to halt the growing desertification of the Sahel, doubling wheat production by redistributing land from feudal landlords to peasants, suspending rural poll taxes and domestic rent, and establishing an ambitious road and railway construction program to tie the nation together. On the localized level, Sankara also called on every village to build a medical dispensary and had over 350 communities build schools with their own labor. Moreover, his commitment to women's rights led him to outlaw female genital mutilation, forced marriages, and polygamy, while appointing women to high governmental positions and encouraging them to work outside the home and stay in school, even if pregnant. In order to achieve this radical transformation of society, Sankara increasingly exerted authoritarian control over the nation. He eventually banned unions and a free press, which he believed could stand in the way of his plans. To counter his opposition in towns and workplaces around the country, he also persecuted corrupt officials, alleged counter-revolutionaries, and lazy workers in proper revolutionary tribunals. Additionally, as an admirer of Fidel Castro's Cuban Revolution, Sankara set up Cuban-style committees for the defense of the revolution. His revolutionary programs for African self-reliance made him an icon to many of Africans' poor. Sankara remained popular with most of the country's citizens. However, his policies alienated and antagonized the vested interests of several groups, which included the small but powerful Burkinabe middle class, the tribal leaders whom he stripped of the long-held traditional right to forced labor and tribute payment, as well as France and its ally Ivory Coast. On October 15, 1987, Sankara was assassinated by troops led by Blaise Compaoré, who took Sankara's office shortly after. A week before his assassination, he declared, "While revolutionaries as individuals can be murdered, you cannot kill ideas." Charismatic Thomas was a decent guitarist in Ouagadougou and a lover of motorbikes.
To, da kai da ke da ita da shi da kowa nake so na yi magana da. Me ke faruwa? Kana son karuwa ga ka zaune bakin rijiya amma kana jin ishin ruwa? Gangan jikin siyasa. In ta dangwala ka dangwala na dangwala. Ina amfanin ana yi ba da kai ba? A turancin Najeriya to an gaya maka. No sit down look. Kana sit down kana looking komai na ƙara lalacewa? Ina ka ga daman ƙorafi? Da masu jini a jika ake yi, watan matasa. Kwankwasa a buɗa ki shige, dago ka shaki iska ko ka lime, da ƙyar ka sha yafi da ƙyar aka kama ka. No sit down look. Matasa ke siyasa. Yin rajista, karɓi katin zaɓe, yana da amfani ƙwarai kwa.
No sit down look.
No sit down look.
No sit down look.
Make una no sit down look oh.
A popular saying in Nigeria goes that at the time a cockerel matures, it begins to crow to tell the world the time of day. This makes a crucial premise for all of us who have come of age, the youths, to lend our voices to a nation set to flip a new page, like the chance to vote and be voted for, whether being a youth, a woman, or a person with disability, and to do this in unity. And to anyone who hasn't been confident enough to exercise these rights, I beg, step out of the dark and come into the light. I mean, your participating in the electoral process is significant, a moment to behold, like that cock crowing in the morning to tell about a difference. No sit down look. Do something that will count today and be in tomorrow's books. The elections are coming. Register for and get your voter's card, your power card. As a citizen, and especially as a young lady or lad, lend your voice, use your voice, talk, say, and tell the world the time of day.
Dub, dub, da, dub, da, dub, da, dub, dub. Yes.
My name is Jane, and I am 18, and this is where I hang out with my friends. We are deeply concerned about the problems facing Nigeria, but when it comes to doing something about it, we would rather sit on the fence.
Dub, 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 dub.